Hello and welcome to Shannon Gardens. Thank you guys so much for joining me. So in this week's video, I wanted to focus on my fall decorating for my front walkway. And I have a few ideas of what I think I'd like to do out there, but I'm not 100% sure yet. So I thought we'd go together and do a little bit of shopping at a couple of different stores and just kind of see what's out there and what strikes my fancy. And I want to bring you guys along with me and just share what I come across and then what I finally put together at the end of the video for that front walkway decoration. So I'm so excited to go. I think that we might visit maybe Hobby Lobby, Pike Nurseries, perhaps Lowe's Garden Center, and just see what they have and what I may put together. I am so excited to get started on this. So with that, let's get to it. My first stop is to Pike Nurseries, which is one of my favorite garden centers to visit. You can see that they have several pumpkin varieties to choose from, and I'll also take a look at the flowers as well to get some ideas of plants that I may want to add to my fall display. Now, after choosing a bag with various smaller pumpkins and then a white pumpkin and a traditional smaller orange pumpkin, I moved on to the flowers. Here we have celosia, which I think would look nice in a fall display and will last until first frost, which is generally a bit later in the fall season here in Georgia. There are violas and pansies, which will last through the winter in Georgia, and I'll put a link about the differences between the two at the end of this video if you'd like to learn more about these beautiful annuals. They have Calibrachoa, which I absolutely love planting with and use that every summer in my containers. And then they also have Petcoa, which is a Petunia Calibrachoa hybrid. And they had great fall colors that would look really nice as a trailing plant in a container. Now, this Bracteantha really caught my eye for its color and its texture, and it lasts until first frost as well. The Microblaze Spitfire Coleus has a really nice coloration, and I thought it would pair well with the ornamental peppers either in a container or a display, playing off each other with the bright colors and interesting textures. I also came across the Kaluna, which is a full sun annual that I thought would look nice just as a standalone plant in a container or for a fall display. Now, there are definitely some fall blooming perennials that you could use in a container and then move into the ground, which is something that I do year round. And I just want to show you guys some options there as well, starting, of course, with the low maintenance pollinator attracting asters. Just look at these beautiful colors. Then we have tickseed or coreopsis, which is another low maintenance perennial, blooming generally from early summer to first frost. Now, this next one really caught my eye, which is the black truffle cardinal flower that's noted for zones 5 through 8 and attracts hummingbirds, which are definitely still around where I live. There's the blue mist flower, and then the gorgeous autumn gold willow leaf sunflowers. And then, of course, we have our mums, and then yarrow in several different colors and varieties. And these are also noted to bloom to frost, and I think would look really beautiful in the landscape or a fall display before adding to your landscape. So, after perusing Pike Nurseries for quite some time, I visited Costco next to see what they have in stock and did find regular pumpkins there as well as heirloom pumpkins, which I was really surprised about, to be honest. The prices were so great, with the pumpkins priced at $6.99 each. I did end up picking up a couple more pumpkins there and then looked at the 14-inch containers of mums, which were really priced well at $16.99 each, but they seemed to be out of the colors that I really was looking for. And so I just moved on with the heirloom and orange pumpkins that I picked up there to add to my growing collection that I had in my car. Next, I moved on to Lowe's where they had really great plant options to consider. You can see in this display here that they had the crotons with those really vibrant fall colors and then different grasses. So there are just a lot of different options here. Now, I really started thinking that I wanted to go with more of a grass backdrop and found the fox red curly sedge in the clearance section and was very tempted to pick that up. But even on clearance, it was still $20, and I just didn't think it would look right in my landscape once I was done with it in a container. They do have the orange marmalade firecracker flower, which I really love as an annual and think that the orange stands out nicely against that darker glossy leaf. So I ended up picking up one of those for $6.48, as well as one of the smaller containers of asters, and then a 2-quart container of celosia, and then finally a spotlight heart sweet potato vine, which has a lovely reddish dark purple color that I thought would look really nice in my fall display. Then I moved on to Hobby Lobby. Now, I really had to stay on task here because there's a lot to see at Hobby Lobby. There's definitely a lot of options for decorating that you can use both inside and out, anywhere from wreaths to yard art, fall ribbons and craft supplies to make your own displays, and straw bales, which I've used before in my displays in the past. And this is just to name a few of the many things that I came across. Now, I was pretty stuck on getting more of a grass for my display, especially after my Lowe's visit, and decided to visit their floral section where I came across this ryegrass that was on sale and thought it would fit really nicely for what I was picturing. And an added plus is that I could use some existing containers to display this ryegrass so I wouldn't have to spend extra money on the actual display itself. Lastly, I went to my Home Depot to look for a few more plants that I thought I wanted to add to the display. Now, I thought that the croton was a really good option, and pairing it with the celosia would look really nice together. Snapdragons would have been another good choice to look at as well, and they did really well for me last fall and winter. But I'm really looking more for oranges and reds and didn't see that at my local Home Depot. They did, however, have nice dark purple pansies and orange pansies that I ended up pairing with a pretty striped liriope that I'm going to add to some existing containers that I have planted from summer and want to incorporate some of the summer plants that are still blooming to help transition those containers to more of a fall look. I'll also be able to keep the liriope either for future containers or plant in the landscape in the future, so I'll definitely get more use out of them than just for seasonal use only. All right, so I arrived at home and here's what I have all together. Now, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to put everything together quite yet, and we'll figure it out as I go along and just see what I like best. Now, you'll notice that I do tend to try to stay in the same color palette so that no matter how I pair things, it all kind of makes sense and has a nice flow to it. Now, I did want to mention that I do have some existing containers that I've either saved from plants that I've bought in the past that were pre-planted, like the mums that I had last year, or they're planters that I purchased in the past, like the taller light gray one here. So here are a couple of my existing containers that I had planted in the summertime where the caladium and the impatiens have just gotten a little too leggy. So I'm going to be removing those and adding those pansies that I showed you guys from Home Depot, as well as the liriope from Home Depot. And I'll put that liriope as the backdrop in both containers to provide height and consistency to both containers in the same area. So here I'm just placing my pumpkins, and it's really a lot of back and forth with me trying to decide exactly how I want it to look. And then the taller container that you see there, the lighter gray container, is where I'm going to put my ryegrass that I got from Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to put some rocks on the top of that just to help keep that container weighted down during the windy days that we have in the fall and make sure that nothing falls over and the ryegrass doesn't come out. So I'm just adding that to it. Now, as far as my other containers where I'm planting my flowers, I'm using potting soil in those containers and we'll be adding my flowers and then setting everything up for the final result. One other thing that I did want to point out here is that I am also adding the smaller pumpkins that I got in the ryegrass container as well, just for a little bit more decoration. All right, you guys, so I finished up and I wanted to show you the end result. So I've got my pumpkins on either side of the walkway, and then I've got some existing mums that I had here. I thought this was a good spot for it, so I moved them here. I've got my other planter with the celosia, and then the orange marmalade firecracker flower, and spotlight red heart sweet potato vine. And then behind that, I've got my ryegrass, which I really like and am really excited to use next year. And at the base of that, I've got my miniature pumpkins. So I really think that everything's tied in quite nicely together. And again, I've got the pumpkins repeated on the other side with my other planter. Now, in my other planter, that's where I've added the pansies and the liriope. And then continuing on the front porch, I've got a second planter where I continued the pansies and the liriope, but kept this lovely Tradescantia in the container because it just looks so healthy and happy. And then I have one last container, which actually already had another orange marmalade firecracker flower. So that was already existing there. And then I just tucked in the aster, and it's still got calibrachoa, the pink calibrachoa here, which is going strong. So I left that as is. And now I feel like these containers are transitioning into fall. And then I will do them again once we get closer to the Christmas holidays. So I believe that's it, and I'm just very pleased with how everything turned out and came together. So just a slight update, after I videoed this, I went to a local grocery store to pick up some groceries and noticed that they had pumpkins on sale. And so I grabbed a couple more just to put them at the back here so that you have the pumpkins when you walk up to the front door, and then you have the pumpkins at the back as you leave as well. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I had such a great time decorating the front walkway and going shopping and seeing all the different things that are out there that you could decorate with and sharing that with you guys. So thank you so much again. Now I will be doing another video where I'm planting the front walkway more in ground with my fall and winter flowers, as well as a couple more containers. So y'all make sure to stay tuned for that video as well. And you can do that by subscribing and clicking the notification bell so that you can be notified each time I upload a new video. All right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful week. And until next time, happy gardening and goodbye.